Yep.
Now we got you.
We hear you. Yes.
You got us?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're at Los Angeles and Temple, also outside the federal building, where I believe Cristina Gonzalez is live. You can see the crowds just coming in and almost feel the energy building. We've been seeing people up here at Los Angeles and Temple doing donuts in the street. And then if you look out here, this is the federal building right now. The National Guard is protecting the steps with, it looks like, federal police next to them. I don't know if you can see, but further down off of Los Angeles Street towards the 101, there's a line of local police, it looks like, trying to prevent people from going towards the 101 this afternoon, like what we saw yesterday. But again, you have this massive crowd outside the federal building. We've seen people getting dropped off, lots of people wearing masks, they're carrying milk jugs, prepping for whatever that they're prepping for, just in case there is more clashes with police tonight. But we see someone juggling right now. But again, this car, if you look at Los Angeles Street and Temple, this is the car we've been seeing doing donuts in the intersection here for the last 30 minutes or so. Actually, someone's climbing this light pole right now on Temple Street. So you can just feel an energy in the air of uncertainty after the last few nights of what we've experienced across LA, as this person again climbing a light pole here, and there's no local police at this intersection where we're standing right now. So,
well, we do know on the other side.
Are outside the federal building.
Yeah.
On the other side,
again.
yeah, the other side from you.
Is there anywhere we could find a cop nearby? Okay.
That's the box right there on the left.
Yeah. So I noticed the
we
way.
do see
Yeah, I noticed the way they have you set up today. It looks like you got a bunch of media colleagues. Is this sort of an intentional thing to kind of keep everybody safe in their quarters with their security? I mean, is it a different setup than what we've seen in terms of just the sort of chaos of the previous couple days?
Yeah, I think it's just people trying to stay safe after what we've seen. You know, you don't want to get too close to the action where you could get hit by a rubber bullet or a rock that's being thrown from protesters towards police as well. As it looks like, yeah, we have people right now, look at this, dropping off food and water. I mean, preparations are underway for what could be a long night right now.
Interesting to see that. Cristina Gonzalez was saying that this is not an organized rally like we saw earlier in the day, where you have the different organizations that are backing some of these protests. This is more, she said, organic, and maybe that's what you're seeing there. I'm hoping that is...
What are those boxes?
Are those masks of some sort? Are those gas masks?
I'm trying to see
that doesn't look like food and
those
water.
are...
Looks like masks.
Yeah, no, those are masks. Yeah, so people are prepping for some sort of altercation with police as we speak.
Yeah, yeah. This is a different scene than what
this intersection, like I
Yeah. I mean, we saw
at this intersection, like I said, there's no local police. We've been seeing the burnouts.
A very different scene. And are those hats that you wear that are more like helmets? I mean, this is a worrying sight. I mean, Christina's site, which is like very close by, she was describing a festive atmosphere, and it looked like a lot of folks, including a lot of older folks, who were there for the right reasons.
This guy's tagging the sidewalk, right?
You know, this is troublemakers. You probably don't put on a mask unless you have a plan of not wanting somebody to see your face. Yeah. And so this is concerning.
Well, the woman who was handing out the masks, you see her quite clearly there in that beige T-shirt. She's not covering her face at all, so I would love to hear from her as to what this is about. Alex, you do bring up the fact that this could be very concerning. It is a Monday and not the weekend, so you're wondering how many people are wanting to stick around through the evening. Matthew, do you get a feel at all for this crowd? You've been out there for the past couple days.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we got to Paramount on Saturday. Here we have another person doing a little bit of a burnout there in the intersection, where you can feel an energy in the air. It's hard to describe, where it just feels like something's going to happen and you're waiting for it to happen. And you can look around, you see the National Guard in front of the federal building, but as far as this intersection where we're seeing all this take place, there's no local police to be seen.
Yeah.
And we have people handing out masks and gas masks, and we just saw people graffitiing the sidewalk right in front of this truck, and we've seen people doing burnouts in the street, and there's no local law enforcement around. around.
Let us clarify, because we've been showing a wide shot and from a different angle. A whole lot of officers on the other side of the federal building, almost behind you, and perhaps the visual is obstructed from your point of view. But I can tell you there are many, many, many LAPD cars and officers there that have staged. They are blocking that freeway overpass, so protesters can't get on that overpass like they did yesterday and throw bricks or concrete or scooters down on law enforcement that was below that had cleared the 101 freeway. So perhaps they're not where you are, but there's a lot of them already positioned there. They're not getting caught off guard by a crowd gathered here.
So, I mean, that was quite a shot that we have there of these folks, and your photographer just gave us a great shot of the box that was left behind, which showed the brand of mask. I mean, it's not the kind of thing, thank you for seeing this there. It looks like a bionic shield is what that's called. I mean, that's not the kind of thing that you buy in bulk if you don't plan on doing something with it. And the fact that that's being handed out kind of like candy to everybody there gives you an indication that these folks probably plan to be here for a while, and they feel like they got to load up. I mean, that reminds me, Matthew, of when you were reporting at UCLA, and we had those tents set up by a lot of the folks that were anti-Israel, and they kind of were getting ready for potential battle at night too, based off of their gear.
Yeah, I remember back to that. They were setting up their encampment, right? So they were bringing in stuff for their tents, their camping equipment, and then you were seeing truckloads of food being dropped off. Now this time we have truckloads of masks being dropped off for whatever's to come later tonight. Like I said, again, you can feel an energy in the air of uncertainty and just kind of waiting for something to happen, whatever that is.
And Matthew, you can't see necessarily, unless you have a monitor there, the shot we just showed of all the law enforcement that is just to the other side of you, behind you. There is quite a presence. Now, I'm not sure why they don't have officers on this side of the federal building on Temple Street there, but behind you, they are there in force. Now, perhaps law enforcement will see the picture that we just showed there, as well as the other media that is there lined up there with you. And obviously those people that were dropping off the masks, they weren't shy about showing their faces.
Yeah, no, they just showed up and they're still here. I mean, they're wearing a mask right now, but for the most part, they didn't seem like that was a big concern. I can see, like you're saying, I can see police in the distance.
Behind you.
Yeah, we can see them on the other side of the federal building down Temple Street over there.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
And they've been watching this take place. I mean, this has been going on for 30 minutes of the people doing the donuts and stuff on this street. But it seems like they're more worried about more violent issues than that at this point, anyway.
And we should also note, also sort of behind you, where the federal building is right there, where the crowd is behind you, the bulk of the crowd, you have the National Guard there and a lot of other officers there that are standing, that Christina Gonzalez has been showing us. Hard to see it in this picture, but right over your shoulder, there's a lot of law enforcement. There's a lot of National Guard members right there.
Yeah, and those National Guard members are really just focused on protecting that federal property. As far as going out beyond that, I don't think they have the jurisdiction at this point to really do crowd control. They're just in charge of protecting that federal building. It seems to me like it's going to be up to local police to how far this can go with the crowd and how far they're going to let it go. But again, yeah, it seems like the national police that we're seeing are just in charge of protecting the federal building.
So we are approaching the top of the hour. As we do, we are going to take a moment to reset here. We're also going to be welcoming viewers who are joining us on our sister station, Fox 11 Plus, who are used to joining us at this time of night. So as we do, we want to officially welcome you to the Fox 11 News at 5. And we start with breaking news here for the Fox 11 News at 5. Protesters rallying on the streets of downtown L.A. The anti-ICE demonstrations now in their day number 4. We are seeing a large crowd in a standoff. You see the National Guard there at the top of your screen. This is at the Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles.
And we should note our reporter Matthew Seedorf is standing in an elevated spot right there. Right behind Matthew is the shot that you just saw with the National Guard, though. So let me set this up quickly before you go to you, Matthew. I'm Christine Devine here with Alex Michelson as we bring you this 5 o'clock news here at Fox 11. Yeah,
so the LAPD has declared a citywide tactical alert as we've seen hundreds of people gathering downtown. Even though it's called a citywide tactical alert, we have not seen major problems in other parts of the city. It seems like right now most of this focus is in downtown Los Angeles, and everywhere else is kind of business as usual. We have seen a battalion of 700 Marines are now being deployed. We learned that a battalion of 700 Marines now being deployed out of 29 Palms to LA to assist the National Guard. They're not supposed to be carrying out law enforcement role, but are tasked with protecting federal property and federal personnel. The president so far has not invoked the Insurrection Act, which would allow Marines to do law enforcement and potentially even immigration work. That has not been invoked, at least not yet. Governor Newsom blasting the move to bring the Marines here. He calls Marines heroes, but said, quote, they shouldn't be deployed on American soil facing their own countrymen to fulfill the deranged fantasy of a dictatorial president. Although I'm sure the president would say some of these folks are not their own countrymen. They're here illegally from other countries.
The LAPD responding. LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell says he's not been given any formal notification about the Marines and said their arrival would present challenges for his officers. And now keep in mind, he was not also aware that there was going to be raids by ICE and Homeland Security. Neither was the mayor. They were not notified. They were not in coordination with the president on this.
But that's because there is a sanctuary policy and they don't coordinate with the administration by choice. So the administration says, we'd like to work with you. You have a policy that says that you can't, so we're not telling you because we can't tell you.
U.S. officials say around 1,000 National Guard members are here on the ground in L.A. Governor Newsom says only about 300 are currently deployed. The governor's also suing the Trump administration over the deployment of the Guard, which the president authorized under Title 10 of the U.S. Code. So let's talk about our crews there that are on the ground monitoring all of this, the protests downtown on this 4th day. Reporter Christina Gonzalez live there on the scene in front of the Federal Building. Christina?
That's right. We're on the Los Angeles side of the Federal Building. Let me show you the scene here. This is on the opposite side of where Matt is. And the crowd here is actually an interesting dynamic that is happening. The crowd here has gotten smaller. Some of them have gone over to the area where the crowd that Matt is in the middle of is at, because that area, they started having some issues. There's word that they may be getting ready to try to move them back. And the question is, will they all be pushed onto here to Los Angeles? Remember, keep in mind, all these crowds are surrounding the Federal Building. This has been so far a very peaceful crowd. We have not had any issues. Many of the people here came from earlier rallies. One, the SEIU, the union rally over at Grand Park, and then there was a large group of students here who've been rallying and protesting since 11 o'clock. But so far things have been very quiet. But you do see a line of they have the big sign, California National Guard, and the feds, in other words, just blocking entrance to this building. So far, it's been very much in your face, but no attempts to do anything beyond that. Very peaceful. At some point, the question is, if they start moving people from that area where Matt is, which is Aliso, will they end up over here, or will this crowd be moved over there, or will they be allowed to disperse on their own, which is unlikely at this point. but we're going to have to see what happens. Again, we have to say a lot of people, though, have left from a few hours ago. I think a lot of families, they say it's 5 o'clock, it's time to go home. And now it's just a different kind of crowd, but there's still quite a few people out here who were at the earlier rallies. But again, it seems to be shifting as it does at this time. People have to get home to the kids and so forth. But we still have a good, on this side, I'd say about 100 people maybe in front of the building, and then around them a good 50, 100, but it changes because they're moving back and forth between the two crowds. It's very organic. There's no leadership moving these people. So we'll have to see what happens. So from
Christina?
Los Angeles Street in downtown Los Angeles, back to you, Christine.
We see the officers in the darker uniform, a little movement there on the platform there where you see the National Guard. Are those also National Guard, or what agency is that?
Federal. That's a federal agency. Remember, the federal building is being guarded by the federal agency. There may be some sheriffs somewhere in there that sometimes, but the majority of the people in front of that, you see that line, and that is by design. They are making a point that we, the feds, are going to protect this building. They know that they're on cameras and that they know that this is what they have to do. When I was out walking the perimeter earlier, I was told that LAPD, the local law enforcement, will take care of the streets. But the entrance to the buildings that are federal buildings is going to be in charge of the National Guard and any kind of federal authority at this point.
All right, Christina, we are watching the scene there, and you're right, it does look like a much thinner
Something is
crowd.
going on right behind us. Yeah, I smell the smoke. I think somebody released some kind of smoke device. Let's see. Let's take a look over here. Let's walk a little bit this way. Did you get to see what happened? No. Let's see. So a lot of people are moving this way and moving back. If you can guard that spot for me, please. I'm not gonna. Yes, we're not gonna move very far away. But what you see are people moving back. I think that was what I don't smell tear gas.
Christina?
I do smell some kind of gas now. Yes?
Why don't we take it back here? We've got another reporter there on the ground, Matthew Seedorf. What do you see?
Yeah, so we're at Temple and Los Angeles Street. I don't know if you can hear police. It sounds like they're wanting people to disperse. Okay.
Sorry about the
yeah, there's someone talking. Someone's talking there. But sorry about that. So here at Temple and Los Angeles, we did see what looked like a fight. We saw a guy get thrown to the ground and some punches being thrown. The crowd rushed in trying to break it up, and they did. They did break it up. But then we saw Los Angeles police just run this direction. And here is where we are now, where you can see police on Temple Street making their presence known. We saw lots of protesters just run and scatter. But right now, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens as police look at the protesters and protesters look at the police here at Temple in Los Angeles.
Yeah, by the way, we're going to do our best to try to keep, the language PG, but sometimes we can't control it when these people, especially, illegally graffiti places and hold up signs and things like that. So we apologize if there's an F word here or there. We're going to do our best to try to keep that out, but sometimes it slips in because there's a lot going on out there tonight.
Well, that explains a little bit of the commotion that Christina was talking about. We do have our two reporters who are there very much close to that scene in different spots of the federal building. It is a much thinner crowd than it was this weekend, as you might expect, being a Monday. Matthew Seedorf, we see you there. Do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, like I've been saying earlier, I mean, you can feel a sort of tension, and then it erupted where there was that fight. Then police ran in. We did mention just about 20 minutes ago, we saw a car show up, a truck full of gas masks.
It actually quieted down today. I thought that it was going to be a little bit more hectic today, but apparently that they decided that they needed to be more peaceful if they wanted a better outcome. Because yesterday I was saying that based on how things were going and moving forward, I thought it was just gonna become more hectic and erupted to a point, I should say, where where they not just the National Guards or the Marines, but the military, because martial law would have been enacted, and they have to do their jobs. But I think that the way things were going the last few days, that martial law was inevitable. But they wised up. Hopefully it doesn't, the trajectory does not change back to how it was, and things are much wiser. They're much wiser in their mission to accomplish the rates to slow down and get their just case heard in court. So let's continue.
It just seems like there's something brewing, I guess you could say. Right now, though, again, police just kind of here watching the situation as looks like some protesters are yelling at them. But this is what we're looking at right now.
And we have some clarity on those masks. They're called bionic shield, and I initially thought they were gas masks coming off the car that they were being handed out, as Alex said, like candy to people in the crowd. We did a little research there. They cost about $34 to $64, and they are protective masks, kind of like what you might see in a workshop. It kind of protects you from chemical splash or sparks or debris, but it is not a gas mask.
Here
it's meant for like mechanics or people that are doing body work on cars, and I don't think they're going to be doing body work on cars tonight. Do you see any cars coming in for body work tonight, Matthew?
No, no cars for body work here tonight. We did just see another box of someone handing out more masks. So again, like, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen tonight, but it does seem like protesters here are preparing for something to happen, some sort of altercation, possibly with police.
I'd be curious also, and I know it's hard to get in there, but who's funding this? Who's paying for these masks that are $34 to $64 each? Who's handing all this stuff? Where are these boxes coming from?
I just saw some rocks being thrown, and that is a great question you mentioned about who's paying for those masks to have them just show up by the truckload. But we did just see some people throwing stuff. You hear some people in the crowd not agreeing with it, telling them to calm down. But again, you can feel an energy right now that's hard to describe.
Yeah, I saw a woman kind of pushing somebody back. Is that her right there? She's kind of pushing this guy, you know, kind of saying, no, no. We also saw that with Christina Gonzalez as well, who said her location, although it was an organic crowd, was staying peaceful, and that when somebody threw a water bottle, the crowd reacted like, no, that's not where we want to go. That was this specific crowd. These are not the people necessarily who have caused so much damage that we saw yesterday. Bizarre behavior there, somebody acting very strange there, and being videotaped, as we do in this day and age. But right now, what you saw when you described somebody intervening with somebody who was starting to kind of cause some unrest is what Christina Gonzalez also described as well.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a segment of the crowd that doesn't want to see the violence, doesn't want to see the unrest, and then there are, you know, those people in the crowd that's what they're here for, right? Agitators. Yep. They want to see the disruption.
Yep, they want to get people agitated and start eruption into violence.
We're noting this social media era of people wanting to document everything, including their own activities, which also means law enforcement says, hey, we're watching too. There's a lot of videos out there. They're documenting the actions of people, and they're saying that for some of the most severe of the agitators who caused the most damage, we're going to be trying to track you down and make arrests. And they have made arrests yesterday. So we're watching the scene here, and describe for me, Matthew, the cars there. Is that just the public trying to drive down the street there, caught up amidst these protests?
Yeah, it is the public. I mean, you've got to imagine, I mean, most people in LA across the world know what's been happening in here the last few days, and especially in the evening, nighttime. To guess, you would imagine that a lot of these people are either coming here to be a part of the protest or to see what's going on.
True.
Just based on what we're seeing, we saw lots of people getting dropped off earlier. Right now, there are kind of two segments of this crowd. Again, where Christina Gonzalez was outside the federal building, then over here at Los Angeles and Temple Street, as these demonstrators are now face to face with police.
Yeah, and it may be that they are looking for a conflict tonight. Matthew,
as we tend to see in scenarios like that, the people that are definitely looking for a conflict.
Yep. So we see that stat on your screen, 700 Marines deployed to assist National Guard. That order coming today, something that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, announced. We do not expect that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, announced. We do not expect them to be in place today. They're leaving from 29 Palms and will be there sometime soon. We don't have an exact date or time for when we expect them to be in place.
Earlier it said Keith Hegseth. It's Pete Hegseth. I don't know why I said Keith, and I've heard the name so many times. So Pete Hegseth. So let's continue.
Let's see what happens with this car that's trying to come through. So we expect around 5:15, which is about 2 minutes from now, a press conference from the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, and the chief of police of Los Angeles, Jim McDonnell, to talk about where we're at and where we're going. Last night, we had a couple opportunities to talk with her, and she really tried to get the message out that violence is not the answer, and that there would not be tolerance for violence. We'll see if both the mayor and the police chief maybe have a different strategy tonight for handling all of this or not. But as soon as that press briefing gets underway, we will take you there live. We'll see if it starts on time. In the meantime, we continue to look at these pictures from downtown LA. A big change from yesterday as we look at the freeway, wide open and not much traffic in downtown LA at this time, which is strange because usually you would see a whole lot of traffic at this time. Christina talked about the fact that a whole lot of people are trying not to get near downtown LA, including people who work there because of what we're seeing today. It is clear that law enforcement has made a tactical decision and a tactical priority to stop people from getting on the freeway, to protect transit for the people of Southern California tonight, and they have been effective so far at doing that. We have not seen images of widespread violence today with these demonstrations that have happened during the day. Sometimes when it gets later at night and some of the more legitimate protesters start to head home to their families, then sometimes later at night the more anarchist people start to act up. It is worrying that we just saw a whole bunch of heavy-duty masks being handed out to everybody that wanted one in mass. Clearly, it looked like the folks out there are preparing for the possibility of conflict. That may be just to protect themselves, and they're not trying to be the aggressor, but they're there in case they need them. But that's not the kind of thing that you would buy, or not the kind of thing that you would want to have unless you were sort of preparing for that sort of thing. And we see a lot of folks covering their faces, which is something that President Trump has talked about he would want to make illegal at protests like this. Not quite sure how you would do that legally. But the fact that people are covering their faces does make it harder for law enforcement to find people. And there are people who may be in this country illegally, who may not want their faces to be shown, who are wearing masks for that reason, although usually they're not wearing the heavy-duty bionic shields. For that reason, you would...
I don't see how Trump would possibly make masks illegal. That would be a violation of freedom of expression, freedom of speech. That there would be a serious issue there, and he would, even with an executive order, I don't think he would be able to accomplish that. Right? That's too many people that you have to go one by one. You see somebody with a mask and you pull them over, you lock them up, arrest them. Wow,